Hello, thanks for watching. This is a recent job in Redland, Oregon. The video is thanks to the property owner who did this time lapse that covers about the first 3 hours of the job before his battery went dead. And so this first portion of this video is the time lapse, and then it moves on to I did some tripod recording um, in the cab and walking around the property that will be part of this later on. But the first, I think, 7 minutes is this time lapse of the first 3 hours. And so you can kind of see how it works and how quickly it goes or how slowly it goes, depending on how you look at it. Like I said, this is very dense and kind of the extreme on the slow side of things. Also, going around trees, trying not to damage them, is always time consuming as well. So, this is a good video. Kind of shows the process in a timbered, forested area like this. Fields that are full of brush or berry bushes or tall grasses that the brush hog can't get, obviously are much faster. And so, um, this first few hours went very smooth. And then after that, well, the job went smooth overall on the job clock, but the 2 days took quite a bit longer than it should have. After this video, there was a short which was throwing all kinds of different signals. And then after that, had some issues with the DEF system, and turned out to be the DEF manifold was going out or went out, and had to have CAT come out. Luckily, that was a still under warranty, from the factory warranty item, and so it didn't cost me anything other than time. But to finish this 2 day job, it took 5 days. Luckily, the owners were um, very nice about it and didn't care that I was there longer than intended to get it done, and just happy that it was done, and very happy with the work. Great young family, and so always fun to see their excitement as they open up new land that was, virtually unusable before.
myself a day yesterday. Got a great start. Great 3 hours. Worked down towards the property line on this side. Then had a stick poke through the side window. And right after that, I had 4, 5 actually warning codes come on. With the 8-volt system, the joystick power for both sides, something with a tilt bucket, a few things. So anyways, got someone coming out to take a look at it right now because I couldn't figure the problem. I went and talked to a buddy at the cat dealership and he thought he knew what it was, so that's what we're going to work on. So hopefully up and running soon.
This is day 2 after the wire and short was figured out, but before the def issue became such an issue that I could no longer work. I was getting signals at this point, warning signals, and every once in a while I'd throw the e-brake on, so I'd be backing up and it'd feel like I hit the back into a tree, and it was just the e-brake going on because of this warning signal for the def manifold. And so this day, I worked for another, I don't know, 3 or 4 hours before I had to shut down and wait for Cat, which that process was took a day and a half to get someone out, and their response time is great and always is. And he diagnosed it, and the next morning, first thing, was out there with the part and got it fixed and got me going again. So hats off to Peterson Cat. They did a great job. But just one of those things that slows the job down. And so, like I said, this is part of day 1 on the job clockwise, but the second calendar day, because it took me a couple days to get this first day done. I'm backing over a stump. Sometimes stumps are in brush you can't even see, or grass, and sometimes you work on them for a while and they're still, even at level ground, the ground around it is pretty soft from mulching, and so you still hit those and it feels like you're going over something much bigger, rock or something like that, much bigger than a stump. So over time, you hit those a few more times with the mulching head and work them down, and they get pretty low. And just kind of depends on priorities of the property owner, if they want me to spend a lot of time on stumps or just get as much of the field cleared as quickly as possible. So um, and there's a huge variable that was on this job and many jobs, even berry bushes and fields that look like there's nothing in them or under them. You go in, and there's huge branches from these storms over the last few years that have knocked down big windstorms and ice storms that have knocked down these huge branches and trees. And so you'll get going in a field of berry bushes where it looks like there's nothing in there but berry bushes, and you find a huge tree that you've got to mulch up or work through, or whatever. If they want you to leave it for firewood, that may be the case as well. But which on a property like this is obviously a factor as well and known. And so that's why it's hard to um, you know bid a job with certainty without um, knowing different factors that could add to time, such as stuff that's under the brush, amount of stumps, density of stuff that's laying down there. If it's been rotten for 5 years, it probably goes pretty quick. If it just fell down this last winter, it takes a bit longer to mulch up and take more trips down back and forth. So these trees I'm falling now, they're pretty tall trees, but width-wise, they're kind of in the middle of the range of what the machine is supposed to handle. The book says up to 8 inches. Depending on the lean of the tree and different factors, you can go bigger than that, but you obviously have a risk of damaging the bearings or damaging the machine. And so if they get too big, I either go around them or fall into a tree, or if they're by a power line or a structure, hire someone, a tree company, to come out and take care of them and handle them however works best for the homeowner or the property owner, and what their goals are and what their budget is. So just a lot of different factors that factor into each and every job of how complete or how perfect everything is done. And this job is one that we're able to basically clear the entire property in the very back. The neighboring property used a bulldozer and put in a road right at the property line on a hillside, and then put in a barbed wire fence. And so it's very steep, and if you get stuck or can't back up, you basically have to go through the fence and over a steep berm onto a road on someone else's property, and then fixing fence and all that kind of mess. So there's a little piece of the back here that we weren't, well, we had expectations that was going to be tough and probably not be able to get everywhere, but we're able to push it pretty far where everyone was happy, both me and so anyways, Okay, so final walkthrough. Um, as you can see, I am hot and sweaty and trying to talk, but the microphone wasn't working or not plugged in properly or whatever happened. So, not sure what was the issue there, but I have to figure that out before the next video. So, I was looking back there at the first area I started for the time lapse. Now I'm over kind of by the house where I was right in front of the house. We're super thick. And there's a little bowl right there where he's going to fill in some dirt, the property owner. And going over towards the far property line now, there was well, the fence stops right there on the far left of the screen, and they've got a string line strung back to the back fence. And so the neighbor was getting ready to put up a fence, and so now he's got a little more elbow room to do so. Um, and so this is still kind of fairly up high um, on the property. It's super thick everywhere on this property. But looking back up towards where I got started again, um, and getting ready to cross back over. Um, when I cross back over here in a second, um, go over a spot that was full of rocks, and then an area was just covered with down trees. Kind of the way I was just looking there. Think I'm showing the different angles a little more than I needed to on this camera shot. But anyways, okay, now headed that way. Um, and so right through here there was a bunch of rocks um, that that I had to work around, pull stuff away from and work away. That's kind of looking up the property line towards the top of the property or where the house barn is where I started the job. And so that's that line along there. The property owner who hired me is going to do his neighbor's doing a fence line on the other side. He's going to put a fence line on this side. Um, After it was open up so much, he decided he had to update that fence line a lot sooner than he thought because the dog was going to run through the neighbors now. So, anyways, this is a big cedar I cleaned up and around, and you can't really tell, but just under kind of that row of trees, it's just a few feet before the fence, and it really drops off because a dozer put in the road down there for the fence line, right below the fence line, and so. It wasn't really safe to go down there and not you know go through the fence and end up in the neighbor's property and having to fix the fence. So this is looking up from pretty much from the bottom of the property. There's a little corner below me once again there that's steep that couldn't get down towards the fence, didn't want to go through the fence. So um anyways, anything really it's somewhat substantial was taken out of the way for this far fence line here. So we're just kind of walking up where the new fence will be, looking over towards this string line. And all through here you could not see any of this. You wouldn't know where the property began or ended, or where these markers were for the fences, from more than 20, 30 feet away. Is so overgrown. And so there was a lot of dead standing trees, smaller trees in particular. The dead standing, I think the bigger stuff had all blown over and was laying down. But um, I took out a fair amount of stuff that was not healthy, dead, standing, rotting, various um, levels of decomposing in the air, but it helped them out by getting them in the dirt to decompose quicker. Um, and so it really opened up this whole area, made it a whole lot lighter. They've got horses; they can ride their horses through there. They can ride ATV through there. He can get in there with his tractor and pull firewood out when trees die, and so it just makes this space usable. Where in the past it was. Um, an area they couldn't even walk through. And so I think they've lived there for almost 10 years, and now they've been in areas that they'd never been in the full 10 years they'd lived there before. Um, so now we're walking up towards where that time lapse, actually, that mounded dirt you just saw, was where the time lapse was. And so now we're going up this far property line. There's that dirt pile there on the right. And so Yeah, so that's pretty much the walkthrough and the job. So thanks for watching. Appreciate the views and have a great day.